Oh, there
Hello,
we are. Hi.
hello, hello. How are you?
Doing good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet me here. The feedback you shared with me, absolutely beautiful. You met me and felt some type of connection with the energy work you were seeing me do and experiencing me, connecting with me doing. There's a
Mhm.
Cosmo Quantum energy. And so you reached out and you began my coursework with a Cosmo Quantum expansion with the courses. And you had previous understanding of energy work, you consciousness,
Mhm.
spiritual spaces of your being. So this seemed to just expand that. This seemed to just take you into an even deeper understanding of you, your wholeness, your gifts, your abilities, and all that is, that understanding of all that is. So we went through these course spaces together. You actually did the full foundational spaces of my courses, which is about 15 weeks of courses total. And then you recently were doing some energy work for this beautiful Cosmo Quantum energy work for someone, a client. Now take us into this last week or so where this happened for you.
You mean where I had the in-person session and I was like having,
Yes, take us
yeah.
to the first one and then walk us through even how it felt to receive that message from me and be really honest. Like take us through the first one and then the middle point and then the other one on the other side. Can we do
Gotcha.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm doing a Cosmo session with someone in person for the first time I think ever, since it was just kind of like this happening. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with it. I'll go with the flow and let's do this. And this person had come in with primarily just migraine issues and historic long-term migraine issues. I'm like, okay, cool. I just went through the process with her and just, it was a very amazing session. Visually, I saw a lot that was clearing. And I didn't think I was, going to receive any energy from this session at all. But historically, in the past, I have occasionally had energy transfer from the client to myself in person. And so, but this didn't even occur to me during this session. Um, but then later that next morning, I woke up with a headache that lasted all day and led into a migraine. Um, and then the next morning it was still there. And I'm like, I've done all sorts of clearing, methods that I thought that would help myself. And I'm like, I just probably should just ask Andrea what she thinks. And yeah, so it was digging into those old subconscious programming beliefs or thoughts or things, maybe agreements that I maybe take on energy from others and it's my savior energy. I don't know what sort of belief I had going on, but I recognized and I did a lot of like writing and integrative, like just feeling into that. And then just acknowledged it all and in my own way, just like witnessed it, and said, okay, well, I want to shift this and release that belief. And so the next, no, it was that evening, Sunday night, I had a session with a client and it was profoundly amazing because it was also over Zoom and it's a lot different than being in person and being on Zoom. I just feel like you can go so much deeper in like a Zoom session. I don't know. There's just so much more space and clarity offered. So I go into this space with this client and able to feel so much more and see so much more that really parallels with the client's own knowings and happenings. She happens to be an intuitive and really super clear on what she's able to see and feel. So it was really fun to kind of to really relay information back and forth to see where we were, and we were just super in alignment with the whole session. And it was really quite mind-blowing for me because it was really just up leveling like my abilities to tap in to what's going on.
So this individual you worked with the second time, or first off, the first session, how did it go for the first client with having that chronic migraine space, did she really receive any relief? Did she mention to you anything she was picking up on in the body sensations, physical, that were of assistance to her? Or to
Yeah,
them? I guess I shouldn't assume. Beautiful
well,
light being just flew
I
through.
did see that. Another. Um, let's see. During the session, she felt like, and this is, she had her own perception of what was happening, and she felt like a tapping in her head where
Oh,
her migraine usually originates. And she's like, it felt like something was knocking inside, that it wanted out, or I'm like,
oh.
interesting.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I love that. And we teach that in our courses, right? We teach that when we connect in with the client, it's their experience that we're witnessing, right? We can't tell anybody how to have it. And all of them are different because every person is a little different on how they perceive and how they create their quantum, because whatever's
Yeah.
going on in the quantum healing space is created by them, just like everything in their physical world is created by them. So I love that. The tapping, I love it. And a lot of times we get that feedback in Acasma quantum energy sessions where there's actually some type of physical touch or sensation, whether inside the body. I had another Acasma quantum facilitator say their client felt hands. It felt like hands were moving inside their centers. And then sometimes it'll be as if there's a sensation outside the body. But I really do believe we're working with higher dimensional beings, and I believe they are assisting in these session spaces. So, all right, now your second session, you mentioned that they were very intuitive. They're gifted. They know their gifts. They're anchored in their space. So, what was their perception or their feedback? Did they give you any on how they received, felt, experienced an Acasma quantum session?
This lady was, she's an intuitive massage therapist. So she does this for a living. She taps into this energy of the quantum in her own way, receiving her channeling, her channelings for all of her sessions. So when we first started in, the first like 5 minutes or something, she was saying, "Oh my, this feels so different than anything else I've ever felt." Wait a minute. Okay, so it took her a few minutes to adjust, to the energy. And then she went into really feeling the energy move in her system.
Mm.
She knew exactly what was going on where, and it was really cool. Like, I would relay information of what I was seeing, and she would be like, "Wow, okay, that really makes sense to me because that, has a story behind it." And she would then relay the information, and it would just be so confirming. So it was really amazing.
I love it. I love it. That is so beautiful. And it's fascinating because everyone is so unique that we work with, and everyone is coming in at their unique space of perception and understanding and being. And it is reflective in how it unfolds and what we experience or what they experience. But I love how a Cosmo meets every single person, every single being, right where they're at. It's never, because some would say, oh, maybe if she felt so much and she's an intuitive and she's gifted in these ways, maybe it's big energy. But the other individual and all the ones we connect with, there's so many different spaces of the way in which it's received, if you will. And it's always geared toward the individual. So the one that, in essence, might benefit more from a more gentle, if you will, for lack of a better word, flow, connectivity, will receive it that way. And the one who is ready and who would benefit more from that maybe bigger sensation, if you will, because that would benefit them. That probably brought her more into the space with her being interested, like, what is this, right?
Exactly.
Because of her skill, if you will, or space of consciousness from all the work she's done in her own field, not her own being field. We have to be so specific here when we're speaking in these terms, but
And
in
her work.
her work, that it being that way for her was of optimal space. Yes.
Yeah.
So Is there anything else in this experience that you feel you may want to share, that for anyone who is either in the work of energy healing or any spaces of this, you know, whether it's the mind reset, neuro pathways being reset, and being a new version of ourselves through conscious living, because that's involved here, which a lot of people aren't used to that in energy healing. They're used to more of, you know, energy alignment and then physical ailments go. But there's a lot of neuro work done with this Acasma quantum energy as well. And then there's also the physical healings and the mental healings in addition. But is there anything here you can think of coming from your perspective and your experiences with this space? Now, also let us know, how long have you been connecting with me in this space overall, you think?
January or February. I think I started Acasma 1.
Okay, so all right, so this has been, I mean, it's not that it's
4
super,
months.
yeah, so I mean, that's pretty fast for
Yeah.
everything. But again, we get that a lot with this when we do this work with people, the session spaces, the energy movement, the stuff that occurs in the space. It's fast, it's big, but it's always gauged at highest good. And I think it's because it's coming from that higher vibrational space of connection, that higher dimensional space of understanding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I found you, I was so drawn into this. Like, I knew it was something that would be so activating. Because I've done Reiki, I've done a number of different types of modalities on my path. And in this Cosmo one, it was kind of mind blowing for me, because the attunement sessions every week for 5 weeks was really the activating space where I was able to expand in these, you know, hour-long sessions of meditation, you know, by myself, you know, connected in the quantum with you doing your attunement. But it was really having those really quite paralleled experience, or just expansive visual experience that I was not able to receive or like to tap into by myself, you know. So it was activating in all of these wonderful ways. So it was emotional. I processed so much during these attunements, because I would then take notes and really go through the process of healing all these spaces within that we're calling to be healed, for people who are available and able to meet these higher vibrational healings, like this recent client. It was profound. It was really, really, really amazing for her to receive that level of healing, and just acknowledgement that there's more, you know, because she's been around and been doing this a long time, and for her to feel something so different, it was super confirming for me. And you know, I do have to say, she did feel energies. She can see energy, she can see beings of light, she can see all sorts of things. So she can hear her guidance team working with her as I was working with her. So there was a lot going on. So when she was feeling the energy move through her, you know, there was at one point she was like quite startled, because the energy like flowed out of her leg, and she was like, "Oh, that was wild," you know. And I said, "Just keep breathing." And what else? And so, but she actually felt, she said that these beings that were working with her were new to her, and but they wouldn't show themselves to her, but she felt them like working on her being and moving energy. So it was really cool.
That is fantastic. That is so, so beautiful. We're very grateful to her for all she's shared with you, and grateful to all those that are working with us that are the unseen ones in many cases. We have seen them in certain spaces, but it is very common for them to be more felt than seen by those that are receiving these session spaces. I think it's vibrational as well. I think they gauge the way in which the space is released to the recipient, that it is, because she already had such a big experience, yes, in that which she was registering and picking up on. And so I think the sight of them might be in a future space, right? Does that make sense to you, that it would unfold itself yet in that type of manner? I love what you started with, though, when you said coming into AQE1, how there was so much emotional healing, release spaces for you to really look into your own being, because that's the core of Acasma. It is not to gain a certificate and the ability to say that you can do a service, but it is self-expansion first, because Acasma really becomes a part of you and you a part of that space, and it becomes a way of life where you shift from one vibrational space of existence or being into the next vibrational space of you, and you live that. And I think that you articulated that very well with how you shared your experience with AQE1. And it is ever expanding. Yes, it continues through all the spaces. I have master levels right now, students in master level that are, in it almost as if it's a wave, ebb and flow. So even the AQE1 foundational first course space with its, the energy is just getting really high as I'm just going into this speech. All right. So with its space of expansion for the self, yes, the know thyself at the truest sense, even the master level of AQE1, these beautiful individuals go through all this foundational spaces, and I know there's got to be a space inside them that says, I've arrived, right? I'm at this level of me. And we are, but at the same time, we're ever expanding consciousness. So here they are, master level 1, and they do it again, but in a new way, in a new space, in a deeper way, and they move into the next space of them, So it's quite beautiful and fascinating, but it makes total sense. If we are consciousness in human form, and that is ever expanding, we are eternal beings. And so we are always moving into that next space of ourselves, and it's vibrational. And vibration is within every space of us, our thoughts, our words, our deeds, our feelings, everything. And I think this space, this Acasma work, I began to say this, it's about a way of living, in addition to being able to then facilitate for others or family or friend if one feels to. It's a way of living, day in, day out, 24/7, self-mastery, self-love, self-worth, self-care, inner peace, because you are embodying what you are being. It's not, we lose the compartmentalization. Everybody comes in, everybody. I have never met anyone that did not have somewhat of a box when they come in, right? Where this part of my life, I'm this person. Completely. And when I'm in this part of my life, I'm going to be this person. And when I'm with these people, I'm going to talk about these things. And when I'm with these people, I can be this self, Mm-hmm. And Acasma really gives you the opportunity. It doesn't make anybody do anything, but it gives you the opportunity to drop the walls of the box and take the lid completely off and become you in all spaces of you, where you never are someone else. Do you lean into that with a lot of confirmation?
Definitely. It's practice, it's a daily awareness practice of acknowledging those spaces you're talking about and really unifying them all and just being more of yourself, and honoring all that comes with that.
That is so powerful, Amy. Thank you for that, because with that, I saw the experiences that show up in the different spaces of ourselves as we be our wholeness, because the space we may have never been our wholeness in before. We may have been a space of ourselves, right? That we were comfortable with being in that particular connective point. But once we bring in the wholeness, now that space is given the opportunity to rise up vibrationally. Anyone in that space, any relationship in that space, any job in that space, any role in that space is given the opportunity to rise up and meet us vibrationally. And that causes the experiences that may offer that type of moment where it feels a little uncomfortable, because it's saying, what do you want to do? The
Yeah.
situation is in your hands. It's energetically in your hands. It's energetically in my hands.
Yeah, it's definitely, I thought of the heart space, because when the heart space is activated, you align to this space of yourself that that didn't know was there in the first place, or you didn't feel it 100%. But after these activations and alignments, it really does become easier to choose the next step to become into alignment of the highest self, not self, but being that you're the truest version of yourself.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, it is practice. You are right. And I think that's one thing as facilitators, as energy healers, we can kindly, with compassion, remind the ones we work with, because some are in a space where they're asking themselves to practice even more. So they're creating and aligning experiences that feel push and pull, feel uncomfortable, because they're saying, if this is the path we want for ourselves, right? They're doing it for themselves. We need to practice our self-mastery. We need to practice our self-worth. We need to practice our self-love. So here's your experience to do so, but the first space the first moment of or how it's read can come off as, why is this showing up? I signed up for a higher dimensional course and I'm embracing my wholeness. Why is this showing up? But it's specifically giving the bridge to the next space by walking across it. And sometimes there's fear involved because we've become very comfortable being, or you know what I mean? We don't think we're comfortable. We think we want out, but then we do know how to be that uncomfortable version of ourselves, right? So then we present ourselves with these spaces, and I think it's all connected with the expansion of consciousness. And I think that's why it's so important to convey that. It's not about a certificate. I mean, you get one, but it's when you take these courses, but it's about self-expansion first. And no matter where you're at, like even your clients, they came in at two different types of spaces, maybe, and yet both of them experienced what was optimal for them, and both of them came back with very big experiences.
Exactly.
So I love that. All right, so we have just a few more minutes here. Is there anything else you can think of that might be beneficial to bring forth that I'm not speaking on, that I'm not bringing into this space? Anything else?
There's one space where you were speaking on just a minute ago, where we are feeling the tug and the pull and the wanting to be in alignment, but feeling that tug and pull. And then we come into the space of maybe having a Acasma session or become a practitioner. It's really asking us to do our shadow work to heal those wounds and acknowledge those spaces of all those lower vibrational emotions that we have that we're not recognizing within, to really look at those spaces and heal them, as before we could jump up. Mm-hmm. So it's just right. Yeah, it's really doing that a lot of it of shadow work inside, and even though it may be scary, it's necessary to evolve.
And it doesn't have to be scary. I love to share that with people. And that's just like the energy, taking on other people's energy. You don't have to. But that's a really powerful point, Amy. I'm really grateful you brought it in, because everything we do, even outside of energy work, is moving with us, every space of us. The way that we parent, the way that we love, the way that we do our jobs, the way that we talk, the way that we feel about ourselves, everything is moving into this higher vibrational space of consciousness, of its understanding of itself, right? So that is also happening with shadow work. Every single thing moves. Nothing gets left behind and nothing gets left untouched. It's all part of the whole. And when I first started doing Acasma quantum energy, in 2020, I brought it to the world, I guess you'd say. And I used to do what I called walkbacks, and you can still find them on my YouTube channel. But walkbacks were shadow work, but I called them higher dimensional shadow work because I knew humanity was ready to drop the old mindset of the dark night of the soul. And I call it the enlightened day of the being. I even had to
Love
come
it.
the line because there was so much slow flow in dark night of the soul. And a lot of people were getting addicted to living there. They really were. And they were like, actually moving into one other space after another of shadows that were needing their love. And we do need to love the shadow, but we don't have to stay in a cycle of loving the shadow. We can rise as we love the shadow, and the shadow can bring us wisdom. And it's really perceptional. And I know that that's embedded in this Acasma consciousness as well. And I know it's conveyed as well, because even you, 4 months, and your work that you did, and again, you came in at a very conscious level. I acknowledge that with you. And I knew it right away when I connected with you in session space, and you were just waiting for me in the quantum, like, let's go. So, but you acknowledge the spaces in which you looked into you, the shadow spaces, and the amount of work, if you will, that was done, and you compare it to the amount of time. Personally, I mean, I don't know your specifics, but I find most of the time what people are talking about, like what you're stating here, would have in the old way of being, doing, and understanding taken years of continually going back in and talking to a energy healer, spiritual coach or therapist, and really getting in there constantly for years. But we're seeing people with a cosmic quantum energy work, we're seeing them heal the shadow spaces in weeks, in months, but very, very quickly. And it's not a judgment on doing it the other way. It's just available now. That's all.
Right.
You know, it's almost like when you have a product that does 10 things and it's lovely and wonderful and you're grateful for it, but then they come out with a product that does all those 10 things and 5 more. And they say new and improved, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that's what we have to share with people, is to have them understand that it's here. That's it. It's here. You can choose whatever version or way you want to do your life and clear and heal yourself and take this journey of you. But this one is available. And it's quite fascinating how it all unfolds. So I don't know. I think we may have even talked about that in the past. Maybe you sharing some of your inner, sights, and whether you do an audio maybe, or whether it's written format. But anyone who isn't already following you should go follow you. I'd go and find her, follow her, share a comment, tell her you saw her here. That would be lovely. And we'll maybe even do this again. I feel like we could get into some really beautiful conversations together and share some excellent feedback to assist all who are ready to move into the next space of their wholeness. Yes?
Yes.
All
Definitely.
right. Thank you so much, Amy, for being with me today and being in this space and for sharing your truth. I love you. I love you. I love you.
I love you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much to all of you who have watched this space with us. Please share any comments, feedback, questions, anything you have below, or email me directly. And we are honored to walk with you. Unending blessings upon you, holy ones. Unending.